Hello and welcome to this episode of Naked Truth. Today we look at the biblical origins of the genocide in Gaza. Biblical origins of the genocide in Gaza. I'm sure we all know by now what has been happening in Gaza, Palestine, since October 2023. Now, after the Hamas attack, of course, the government of Israel embarked on a massive and devastating total war on Gaza, a colossal and relentless bombing campaign that has devastated the territory. As of today, more than 50,000 people have been killed and over 100,000 injured. And by today, I mean April the 22nd, 2025. Now, most of the casualties in Gaza have been civilians, about two-thirds, more than two-thirds really. Most of them have been children, women, elderly, non-combatants. Over 14,000 people are as yet unaccounted for, presumed dead, and buried and rotting under the rubble. More than 70% of the buildings and infrastructure in Gaza have been destroyed. Schools, hospitals, shopping centers, markets, universities, name it, including offices and infrastructure of humanitarian organizations that supply food and other essentials to Palestinians, United Nations facilities. Nothing has been spared. The destruction has been total, as evident in these reports from these organizations, Al Jazeera, Reuters, BBC, everywhere. It is clear then that there has been wide-scale devastation and destruction of Gaza. Today, those who have not been killed, who have survived the onslaught so far, have been ordered by the government of Israel to leave the territory of Palestine, of Gaza, or face death by bombing or shooting or starvation, because the Israeli government has imposed a total blockade of delivery of humanitarian supplies, be it food, water, medicine, anything essential for living, it's not allowed to enter Gaza. So the people have been told, you either stay here and die, or if you want to leave, you go elsewhere. You leave the territory. The government of Israel, with the support of the government of the USA and other Western allies, have perfected plans on what they will do with Gaza territory after the Palestinians have all been removed, either by killing or by deportation. And the situation is not limited to Gaza. It extends to West Bank and other occupied territories. Now, because of this, many people have accused the government of Israel of committing genocide against the people of Palestine. Lawyers, human rights organizations, United Nations rapporteur, commentators, Jewish people, Jewish human rights organizations, Jewish campaigners for Palestinian justice, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, name it. They've all accused the government of Israel of committing genocide. So, before we go further, it is important then to understand what is meant by genocide. Because genocide is considered to be the worst crime anyone or any state could commit in international law. It's the most heinous and outrageous of all the crimes. Now, genocide means doing any of 5 specified acts against a protected group of people with intent to destroy that group either entirely or in part. The intent to destroy a group, either ethnic group, national group, racial group, or religious group. The intent to destroy them wholly or in part, that's entirely or partly, by doing any of the acts including killing them, wiping them out of the face of the earth, or inflicting on this group serious physical or mental harm, or imposing on the group conditions which make life impossible or which will lead to their destruction. Preventing birth amongst the group, either by forced abortion or forced sterilization, and forcibly deporting children belonging to this group. As I mentioned earlier, genocide is probably the most heinous and outrageous crimes in the world. It also includes ethnically cleansing a particular place with intent to destroy them wholly or partly. The law on genocide has been part of international law since 1948, when the Genocide Convention was agreed. All states are bound by this law, and this law has become part of customary international law and has been enacted in subsequent international treaties and conventions under international law. So it is clear, everybody, every nation is bound by this law. Okay, so we know that genocide is a crime, is a serious, terrible crime that cannot in any way be justified or excused. But what if I tell you that this crime is actually founded in the Bible? It is based on the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, that the destruction of Gaza, the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the genocide, the wiping out of the people of Palestine was actually decreed as a perpetual ordinance in the Bible. Well, let's have a look at the Hebrew Bible and of course also the Christian Bible, the one they call the Old Testament. Genesis 15, verses 18 to 21. This is the genesis of this problem, because in that passage I'm going to read now, the God of Israel promised to give the land of Canaan, or the place that is called Palestine, to the Israelites as a perpetual inheritance. Genesis 15, verses 18 to 21 says, at that time, Yahweh made a promise to Abram. Abram is the ancestor or the forefather or the forebear of the people of Israel. He said, I will give this land to your descendants. This is the land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. It is the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Gagashites, and the Jebusites. I am going to give you this land that belongs to other people, yeah, as your inheritance. Exodus 3, verses 7 to 18 repeats this promise to Moses. Moses was the founder of modern, well, of ancient and modern Jewish religion. He said, the Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the land of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. This also is reaffirmed in Exodus 3, verse 17. So, the God of Israel promised to give the ancestors of Israel as an inheritance the land of Palestine, or the land of Canaan, belonging to other people. Now, to make this happen, Yahweh orders the Israelites to wipe out all the people in the so-called promised land. So the land he promised them, he now tells them, now go and take that land, but wipe out those who are in it before you can take it over. Deuteronomy 20, verses 16 to 18. Now, this order was given to Moses according to the Bible. He said, when you go out of Egypt, or as you come out of Egypt into the land I've promised you, in the areas not part of the promised land, you can offer those people a chance for peace on the ground that they will be your slaves. If they accept to be your slaves, then you shall spare their lives. If they refuse to be your slaves, kill all of them. But Deuteronomy 20, verses 16 to 8. However, in the cities of the nations the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, that is to say, in the so-called promised land, the land of Canaan, the land of Palestine, the land of the Amorites, the Jebusites, the Gagashites, and so on, the Lord is giving to you as an inheritance. Do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded you. So, to confirm the promise, he tells them, go, destroy all of them. Destroy all of them and take over their land. So who were these people in the promised land? Who were these people? Well, the Hittites will form part of the present-day Turkey, the part of Turkey called Anatolia. That is where the Hittites will be today. Excuse me. The Amorites will be found in the present-day Syria. The land of Canaan, the Canaanites, will comprise today the present-day Israel, the West Bank of Palestine, and Gaza Strip, as well as the nation of Jordan, southern part of Syria, and southern part of Lebanon. The Perizzites will be part of ancient land of Canaan, but probably part of modern-day Lebanon. The Hivites will also be in Lebanon. The Jebusites will be in the present-day Jerusalem. The Girgashites are part of the Hivites population and part of present-day Lebanon. So these are the people who were ordered, whom Yahweh ordered the Israelites to wipe out. Right. So after the death of Moses, or before the death of Moses, he handed over the baton of leadership to Joshua. And Joshua took over the responsibility of carrying out the orders of Yahweh in respect of the promised land. It was Joshua who led the destruction of ancient Canaan, ancient land, the so-called promised land. Go to Joshua chapter 6, verses 24 to 25. That was the beginning of the campaign to wipe out the promised land, beginning with Jericho. So that passage tells us how Joshua and his armed forces, led and directed by the God of Israel, took over Jericho. And they slaughtered everybody in Jericho. They wiped out the entire population, according to the Bible. Then after that, they went to a place called Ai, or Ai, Joshua chapter 8, verse 24 and verse 25. Again, they went to Ai and wiped out everybody and sparing no one, according to the Bible. And then, if you go to Joshua chapters 9 to chapter 12, it tells us about how the other towns and cities of Canaan, or the promised land, were wiped out. Now, after that, the land of Midian. Midian, if you remember, was actually the place where Moses got his wife and where the God of Israel appeared to Moses in the burning bush. Anyway, that did not spare the Midianites, who harbored him and gave him shelter when he ran away from Egypt. Anyway, Numbers chapter 31, verses 15 to 17 tells us about how the people of Midian were totally wiped out. So, this is nothing more other than genocide. Wipe out an entire population, give them no chance for peace, just wipe them out and take their land. Ethnic cleansing, killing, slaughter, murder with intent to destroy, and actually destroying an entire population, an entire nation, an entire ethnic group, an entire racial group. After the wiping out, the Bible says that Joshua and the elders of Israel got together and shared all the land amongst the tribes of Israel. All the 11 tribes out of 12 got portions of the land. The Levites didn't get any because they were dedicated to be priests of Yahweh and therefore do not have any land. or inheritance in the promised land. So, viewed from biblical perspective, it is clear that the precedent for the destruction and genocide of Canaan is to be found in the Bible. It was Yahweh, the God of Israel, that mandated the destruction of the people of Canaan, the people of Palestine. Because of this biblical foundation, the government of Israel and many of its people, there are of course many Israelis who do not support what the government is doing, and they've spoken out, but they also have been persecuted for voicing their opposition. But many people in Israel believe that the promised land in the Bible is their land and justifies their treatment of the people who are living there today, the Palestinians. Therefore, many of them are not concerned about the plight of the Palestinian people because, as far as they are concerned, there are obstacles for them to receive and dwell in peace in the promised land, which God, their God, has promised them. Similarly, for this reason, many Bible believers, in fact most of them, especially the so-called evangelical or staunch Christians, do not see anything wrong in what is happening because they believe that God said that the land belongs or should be taken by the Israelites. But if we follow this logic, then what becomes clear is that the God that gave the land of Palestinians to the Jewish people, to the Israelites, is not the God of the Palestinians as well. Otherwise, why would they rob the Palestinians to give their land to the Jewish people, to the Israelites? And secondly, we must also accept that this God, Yahweh, who is giving the inheritance, given as inheritance the land of Canaan to the Jewish people, is not the God that created the land of Palestine or the land of Canaan, or in fact the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Cadmonites, and all those people, because if he created them as well, he would not be asking his chosen people, the Israelites, to go and wipe them out. It is clear then that the basis of this genocide in Gaza is not just based on the whims of politicians or Zionists. It is founded on the Bible. In the subsequent episode, we shall continue to explore this topic and show you the link between the government of Israel, the Zionist movement, and the claim to the promised land. Thank you for watching. Bye.